stakeholder in Nigeria's electoral landscape. Their teeming number, which account for about 70% of Nigeria's population, makes them a force to reckon with. Also, their growing enthusiasm in the electoral process, as demonstrated by their recent increased turnout to vote, makes them an attraction for political parties and contestants. Welcome to Standpoint. I am Ademola Lawrence. Data released by Independent National Electoral Commission in 2022 followed a rigorous cleanup by the voter registration data using automated biometric identification (ABIS) shows that young people aged 18 to 34 years accounted for 76.5% of the 9.58 million people who registered. In the growing enthusiasm of the youth in the electoral process is connected to a lot of factors, such as the desire to change the political system, perceived to expose them to increasing economic hardship and political marginalization in the country over these years. What is more, social media has provided a veritable platform for the youth to mobilize and express themselves in the political space. However, the youth have been presented as both perpetrators and victims of violence in Nigeria's electoral process. Yet, it has also shown that the youth are agents of peace building in the electoral process. Thus, youth are a double-edged sword that can be deployed for violence as well as peace building in the electoral process. This edition of Standpoint assesses the risk of youth participation in the election and post-election violence, and of course, suggests pathways to mitigate such violence through strategic engagement. And of course, joining me on the show to talk about this is the APC youth leader, Seriki Muritala in Lagos, and of course, Emeka Eze, who is also a politician. And don't also forget, another 4 years is just beckoning on the door for the president-elect Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So what is going to be the fate of the youth? We're looking at all of this, the pre-election, the post-elections, and the things that will happen going forward. But let me start with you. Seriki, there's been a lot. First of all, what's new in this political dispensation that we have come to see? The pre-election and, of course, the post-election. The elections are over. What's new for you? What are the things that prop up for you? Before we start addressing them one after the other.
So thank you very much, Demola. I'm pleased to be here. And then this is actually a very good time to discuss this, because that a lot of new things happen in this election. This is one of the best elections as we speak right now in the history of Nigeria from 1999 to this date, and evidence with different data that is available in the society. That tells you that this is one of the free and fairest elections ever. So this, one of those things new is that INEC has helped us in making our election a better one compared to what we used to have. 2, INEC has helped us in making sure that our vote always count and our votes would always count. INEC have also woken up the young people of Nigeria by telling them that, see, this is an opportunity for you, that instead of engaging in all of those vices that you used to engage in, this is an opportunity for you to also express yourself and you can be heard.
Emeka?
Well, Demola,
you and I have spoken. We've spoken a lot of times about this.
Yeah.
First of all, what's new for you? The pre and the post-election, the things that have crop up as a result of this election.
well, I would want to be very positive. But as much as possible, I'm going to try not to delve into the credibility or not being credible for the elections. I'm not going to talk about that, because what we're really looking at now is, some of the things that crop up after the elections and how these things can be managed. So I'm just going to, artfully dodge the issue of credibility for the elections and the rest that goes with that. But for me, it's a beautiful start. Okay, I like the fact that suddenly the people who actually own the elections, please allow me to use that word, who own the process, are standing up to it. And you would agree with me that in recent times, their level of involvement, their level of participation has increased. It's a teething process. So some of these things are some of the things that we, see, some realistic political analysts would say envisaged. And moving forward, these are some of the things that should be part of a curriculum, if there is one, for voter education about what to expect and what not to expect in future. A lot, we got right, some we got wrong. It's a teething process, but as we go on with the discussions, we would touch on some of these issues and would know the best ways to, solve
Okay,
them.
so I like the fact that the both of you probably, you're trying to manage this discussion, so I can understand. But let's delve into it. A lot of issues came up during the election, the pre-election and of course the post-election. And one of those things is, first of all, the three major candidates that went into the elections. There were a lot of things that prop up as a matter of fact. There's the religious aspect, there's the ethnicity aspect, and of course, these things form the basis, somehow form the basis of how these elections were run. Now, these things are facing us now. We can't shy away from them. But how to mitigate them is what we need to look at. First of all, let me stay with you, Emeka. Look at the things that happened, for example, during the February 25th election, and how the youth, came out in mass. There were violence in some pockets of violence in some places, and of course, these things were before the pre-elections. We're already seeing the signs. How do you think we can mitigate over this? Because the first is the youth are the ones who would definitely, like in my script, I said they can be used as a two-edged sword. They can be peace builders, and of course, they can be the victims. How do we mitigate over this?
Then I want to completely agree with you that the youths were actually, they were the perpetrators, and at the same time, they were the victims. Now, but like I said before, it's a teaching process, and we'll continue to learn. But I want to let's look at it this way. I think that it's time for us to begin to look for our black goat in the afternoon and not wait till it's late. Something happened during this election, unless we do not want to address the truth for what it is.
That's what
now,
we need to
if
address.
you look at what happened, I don't know whether to say unfortunately, we had three candidates who represented the three tribes. So in other words, for some people quickly align themselves with their own tribe. Okay, that's one. But don't forget, amongst these youths, there were some of them who were not divided along these lines, who have already been brought together by a certain monster that was created not too long ago, that hasn't died, that they kept waiting, and they wanted to use their votes at the polling units to address. That's the NSAS movement. For some, it was that. For others, it was my person, my brother, my tribesman. For other people, it had to do with my religion, my this, my that. So I would want to say that it is something that the mistakes were made long time pre-election, where I think voters' education was not, done in the proper manner. People should know that apart from voting, what people should be more interested in is what the outcome of the elections mean to them. Because my co-discussant here, if we both walk into a supermarket to buy a loaf of bread or to buy petrol from the filling station, there's no price for Igbo, there's no price for Yoruba. So what it means is that any decision we make, if the leader is not on top of the game, if the leader doesn't position the country well economically, if the leaders doesn't assemble the best of team, if the right things are not done, we will all suffer. So if we begin, because what we're discussing now, the elections are already come and gone. Yeah. So what we're discussing now is ways to,
avoid such things.
In future. Yeah. And so what that means is we must begin now, not 1 month before, not few months before, not 1 year before. We must begin now to analyze and educate these youths. They are involved, they've gotten into the picture. 15 years to 39 years is about 76% of
76.5%.
And that's the largest crowd. In fact, that's a very scary demography. Okay? And they are involved. Don't forget, there are factors that are making them even more committed. Some of them have left a lot that would have taken their attention. I don't want to mention names, but there are programs and other things and other events that would have, gotten them, but they were so particular about these elections. And they're involved, give or take. Now, the fact they're involved means a lot has to be done. The umpire, the government, the CSOs, and even private organizations have to begin now to say, young people, this is what election means. When you come into the picture, this is what's expected of you. I want to praise them. For me, I said this on some other interviews. I said the youths are actually my heroes for this election. the way the role they played, they helped strike a balance, so to speak, during the elections. Some of them used the social media to put the umpires on their toes, and they helped to document some of the results, and even take it or leave it. They played a very significant role. That moving forward, it's not going to be business as usual for elections, and I think if they are properly channeled and put in the right direction, this is a welcome development for Nigeria.
I think it says something that's, of course, that strike a chord is the fact that, not being business as usual. Mm-hmm. I saw you during the campaign trying to canvass for votes from the youth. In your interactions with these people, now I'm saying that the people youth wouldn't belong to your party, mm-hmm. just generally. Mm-hmm. In your interactions with them, now we are trying to forestall whatever will happen in the future. So we need to be playing with ourselves. Three of us sitting down on this mm-hmm. table, we're all youth. Yes, so we need to tell ourselves the truth. True. What are the things that you think that we need to start talking about? The elections are over, but a lot of things happen, and those things are still rearing heads on social media. Mm-hmm. And if we don't get to stop them, we might just bite our fingers for it. Mm-hmm. But how do we stop all of this?
So thank you very much, Demola. Emeka already said that this is a teaching process, and I agree with him totally. During the campaign, and you can't take it away from this election, this is in the history of Nigeria from 1999 to date, where we have three major candidates from three different ethnic groups contesting keenly in this election, and they were the front runner for this election. So you expect that different things would make people want to stick to their candidates, either by religion, either by ethnicity, either by capacity, either by whoever you believed in, right? So, but then one thing we must not take away from this election is that it has come to bring us together, and it has also have come to also divide us. And then the first thing to do as young people is to start coming together and don't allow all that has divided us in the past election continue to linger. See, whether we now like it or not, we have a president-elect, which is Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and he's going to resume office May 29. So what I would advise young people is that we need to start coming together. One of those things we need to start speaking to now is that, sir, you have said you will do so, and so in your manifesto. How do you want to make this happen? How do we want to benefit as young people? How do you want to create an enabling environment for us to thrive? How do you want to bridge the gap of what had happened in the election, during the campaign, during the electioneering process and the campaign process? How do you want to find a way to accommodate everybody and bring them on board, irrespective of where they belong to during or after the election? And that, I think, is what young people need to start talking about. If I'm any young person who is not in APC, what I'm going to do is to bring out the manifesto and say that, oh, Asiwaju, you have told us that you are going to do this for us. When are you going to do it? Mr. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, you said you are going to do this to young people. When are you going to make this available? This is what we should start doing now. We should start again as young people, come together, as we have always come together in the past, before this election, before people start going to mosque or start going into churches or going to ethnic markets to campaign for votes. And that's when the division started from. But see, the election it's gone, and we won already. So what I think now is that let us all come together and build this nation to be a better place. Let us now start looking into the manifesto. Let us now start looking into the promises that have been made by all of these our leaders in the campaign process, and let's start building it together.
I can hear Nick chocolate, but I want to stick with you.
Please go ahead.
So there are people who are aggrieved, and they felt like the person that they voted for, because when you look at the social media buzz before the election and during the election, there were a lot of social media buzz about this particular candidate that a lot of youth wanted for them to be the president. Okay. And I remember vividly, I want to point out something to you. I remember during when Asiwaju gave his, when he went to get his certificate of return, he said he used you loud and clear. So that means that there's a lacuna somewhere that needs to be filled. So how do you think that, you said we should move on. some people said, man,
we don't want to move on.
We don't want to move on. We don't want to. There's a lot. There's a lot at stake.
It depends on what moving on.
Exactly.
So
moving on might be different from what.
So I understand you, Demola, and the truth of the matter remains that in an election process, we would always have different views. We would always, anywhere in the world, feel disenfranchised if we lose an election. There is nobody who wants to go into an election and feels that they want to lose the election. Yeah. Every right candidate, right from Mr. P.O. to Matiku, down to our president-elect, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, they really want to win the election. They were working hard to win the election. People who were supporting them were working hard to win the election. But don't be quick to forget that election is not on social media. Do not believe all of those things that we see trend on social media as it's exact. No. The same way we have young people who are supporting Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who are really working hard to make sure that, yes, we know this man can deliver and we want to support him. Same way we have those enormous number of young people who are with all of those other candidates. Let me tell you. Okay, I'll give you a time.
There's something that you said, election is not on social media. I remember I brought one of your party chieftains to this show, and he said just 4 people at the back of the just 4 rooms is what is making a lot of noise. But eventually,
that's not so actually.
That's what I'm doing.
I want to agree with you. No. See, let me agree with you. I'm saying that it's not one. We can't win any election on social media. It is just people who rejective supporters of any candidate that have lost election. Exception of those people who are delusional about him. Already knew that we have to move on. Already knew that, yes, we have played our part. And for every election, there would always be one winner and, of course, several losers. And that has happened already. So, so if you now think that people don't want to move on, then, I can't fault it. I can only preach to people who don't want to move on. I can only plead that the president and the governor should extend hands of fellowship to them. But, they will feel pained that they have lost the election. But that's not the true picture of what has happened in this election.
Okay, I saw that you were
really. That was more like a slap on my face from Seriki there.
Okay,
because you don't beat a child and tell the child how to cry. Okay, now this child, you've beaten the child is crying. Some would say pat with the other hand. I'll tell you something. Pre-election, that's what post-election, avoiding what happened. But if we're to delve into the real things of the election. Raised in Lagos, and I speak Yoruba fluently. Okay? It's been home for me. This election, I saw a lot of display of nonsense, so to speak, forgive my use of word, because all of a sudden, identity, ethnicity became something politicians organized. It got to an extent where, just like he said, not everything is on social media. That's something that that's one lie a lot of politicians told themselves in the past, that the ones who are realistic are telling themselves truth about now. Because the digital world or the digital space is taking over. In fact, young entrepreneurs are taking over, the country's economy. And the same applies to the political space, because it's the most interactive place where you can talk to even those ordinarily you wouldn't have been able to reach. So if you look down on what the social media can give you, then you do so at your own peril. Now, what happened in this election was just something that too many people didn't see coming. Okay? And I'm sure lessons have been learned. But I'll tell you something. As we speak now, there are people, because of the elections, whose means of livelihood have been destroyed. There are people who have lost parts of their body. There are people who have died in the process. And I will not allow anyone stand in my face and call them collateral damage. They are not. It was an intentional arrangement by some politicians. People took advantage of certain things. These are very vulnerable youths. They got into the process. It's not something they're very, they've always been involved in completely. It's always been reserved for, the older generations, the old political elites, and those, so to speak, experienced in politics. Now, these young people, because of the assurance that they got from the INEC, the umpires, who said this is going to be different. What we're going to be seeing now is a different kind of elections. And to even make you, feel comfortable with the fact that whatever you do at the polling units is what's going to reflect, these results are going to be transmitted directly from the polling units to INEC. And so a lot of people now, years ago, decided to even spend the whole day at centers to get their polling units, go to the polling units, stay there from morning till night to cast votes and stay and ensure that votes are counted and getting involved in the process. So this is something a lot of people, somebody made a post recently on social media, a very young lad, and I found it very emotional. He said that I placed my trust, my hope, I put it in a ballot box, and I'm looking for it, I can't find it. From the ballot box to the INEC office, my hope got missing along the line. Who took my hope? And these are young people who never felt that a credible election can be possible, one that can produce the leader that the people want. Now, I'm not here to say this person won or this person didn't win, because it's not supposed to be the discussion for us right now, because the issue is already in court. Yeah. And that's the same thing to do. I've always told youth there's no need for anybody engaging in any violent acts as a way of proving you're right or wrong. There's a process for everything. When the elections are over, if you don't feel happy with it, you approach the court and then you take it up from there. But if you look at what has played out, what my good friend was trying to do now is the part where people are feeling bad, downplaying these things and making it look like it has happened, let's move on. No. I know even the candidate for the Labour Party and the candidate for the APC, who is the current governor, they all went to, for example, the market in I've forgotten where it is, around the Olodia Papa area, where they made donations. Someone gave 15 million, another person gave 100 million. Put that together, someone has it in his warehouse in that market. So it's not like you've solved the person's problems. But in Igbo land, they say, it means that any kind of hunger that comes with a certain level of hope will not kill you. So if you're hungry and I know probably Seriki, my friend, is out there trying to get something for me, and he would soon come. Whenever he comes, I would have something to eat. Then there's hope attached to my hunger. It won't kill me. All I just keep doing is I keep looking out for him to arrive. So what we should be doing now, the conversations shouldn't be move on, move on, move on. That's a very wrong way of approaching it. It should be this happened because of this. We take responsibility for this. This happened because of this. I'm coming. Don't stop. And if certain people take responsibility for the mistakes they made that has cost the nation so much, because it is sad. A lot of us were taken for fools, especially at the polling units, where you tell us this can't work. We're expecting direct transmission of results and the rest of them. See, Demola, I don't want to get emotional because, I know how these things feel.
So,
but we have gone past that stage, and then moving forward.
Demola, let's not wait for a maker. Hold on, Demola.
Sorry. Moving forward on a final note.
It's okay.
With regards to the question, I want to say that the fact that it's a teething process was a statement I made generally, looking at it holistically. The approach moving forward will be that would help, the politicians themselves. I'm not mentioning any party. Aren't helping matters. Weaponizing these things. The elections are over right now. Friendships have been strained. I have a younger sister who's married to a Yoruba man. And he's my good in-law. I have places where, in fact, anybody who knows me personally, Demola will tell you, most of the people I hang out with a lot are my friends from the Southwest. And how do you think, if you were me, in recent times, if I sit down amongst you, and you who told me weeks ago, you will leave this Lagos. I am telling you will leave this Lagos.
So Emeka is getting emotional in an objective conversation.
And
that's why I'm worried. Because he's talking about a market. He's talking about a market that got burnt in Lagos, as if that was due to election violence. He has forgotten. He has forgotten to know that yes, we are not happy with the situation. We have only said that this election process is getting better. We are not where we want to be, but I'm sure that we are far away from where we used to be. And I can give you the data to that. Are you aware that, yes, we are sad with all that has happened in this election, but in this whole election, we lost about 13 people in this election. But are you aware that in 2019,
you lost how many?
Are you aware that in 2019, data has it that we lost 150? Are you aware in 2015, data has it that we lost 100? Hold on. Are you aware that in 2011, data has it that we lost 800 people in an election? So what I'm saying is that I'm not saying that this is perfect 100%. I'm only saying that it is a lot better compared to where we used to come from. Are you aware that in this election, before now, we used to have a lot of election violence? We still had this in this last election, and we can't take it away from that election. But are you aware again that in that election, in the history of old Lagos, we have 13,325 polling units. And out of those 13,325 polling units, we only had data from over just 84 polling units. The elections were disturbed.
Well, how did you arrive
that is
at
less
this?
than 1% of the election.
Arrive at this
So I'm not going to tell you. You can find it out from INEC website.
Wow.
This is a verifiable fact.
Well,
and so hold on, Emeka, I gave you your time, Emeka. I gave you your time. So if you now say now that people are saying that, oh, see, Emeka, who has been in Lagos for a couple of years, over decades in his life, for more than 3 or 4 decades in his life, and people are saying he has to go back to his village. You have to look at what is the reason why that has happened. I'm a Yoruba man, I'm from Lagos, and I'm not. See, Lagos is the only place that we welcome everybody to come live and thrive. So, but when the time people start saying that, oh, Lagos is a no man's land, Lagos is a this, you think Yoruba people will be happy?
Who exactly said
No.
these
They are not. Excuse me, hold on, Emeka. Do you think Yoruba people they are going to be happy? No. They are not going to be happy. If people come to their land, you have given them opportunity to live, you've given them opportunity to thrive, and they are saying that your land that they have come to, they are telling you that it's not even your land. It also belongs to them. You think your people are going to be happy? Okay, no, so Emeka has come to tell me again.
No, so hold on. Let's do
it's
that.
Okay.
Okay, so I like the fact, first of all, I like the fact that the things that we're shying away from, we begin to talk about.
Okay. And that's good.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
But we needed to talk about them because we want to prefer solutions.
Yes.
That's what we want to do. We want to prefer solution. But first of all, let me first say this. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, okay. Either it's one life.
Okay.
It matters.
No, remember I said it. Hold on. Remember I said it that we are actually sad that happened.
Okay, I just wanted to.
But we are only saying that it's better compared to what we used to have.
Okay, so
don't get that twisted.
Okay.
It is bad, even if it's just somebody shooting somebody and you are losing your hand or your leg. No, it's bad. It should not happen in an election process.
Okay, so
we are only saying it's better compared to what we used to have based on data.
Okay, so
we lost 800 people in 2011. We lost 100.
Hold on, just hold on.
And you're comparing to 13.
Hold
the
on.
constant there is
hold
lost.
on. Okay, so you know what? We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll still talk about this management of election violence by the youth. Like I said, the youth can be used for a two-edged sword. Either be the perpetrators, the victims, or be the peace builder. We'll be back after this break.
Never miss a moment. Instant breaking news from all over the globe. Live streaming of your favorite programs delivered directly to you. Watch anytime from anywhere on your mobile or smart devices. Download the TVC News app today. Available on Google Play and Apple Store.
Politics is defined as getting what, where, when, and how. But in the mix, many things come to play to shape the political fortune of any country.
Honorable Minister, that's how you misinform the public.
From the political actors to the electorate, campaign to voting, from debates to policy decisions, big events happen to engage us in constant conversation.
That's what we're looking for. Not some people who are talking about ethnicity. No.
Who is on your mind?
Don't worry.
Join me every day on Politics Tonight, where we dissect issues that shape our political destiny. Politics Tonight, weekdays on TVC News.
After the break, there was a lot of argument. But of course, back to a standpoint, what we're discussing, the managing youth post-election violence. And of course, I'm in the studio with APC youth leader in Lagos, Seriki Muritala, and politician Emeka Eze. The two of them have been going back and forth, but the issues are to be discussed. And of course, one of the things that we also want to do is to provide solutions to them, because we can't hide away from them. It's straight in our faces. So we need to talk about them and have proper solutions to them. So, okay, felt disenfranchised. And there's one aspect that I wanted you to also, this perspective that I also wanted you to look. You look at the mood of the election. Correct me if I'm wrong. You look at the mood of election, it looks as if the mood of the upsurge of we want to have everything to ourselves is coming from the South. It's looking like, okay, it's from the South. And it looks like the North just want to play along with this is what we want to have. Because eventually, whether you like it or not, it played out in the election. Because a lot of people now voted for a particular candidate in the South. And the North, of course, had different candidates, maybe two candidates majorly, who voted more for them. Are you not seeing it from that angle that, maybe what is also dividing us that we also need to correct is the fact that, maybe the political education that the North has from the South, it's a bit different.
Okay. I'll take it from this, but before I respond to that, I want to quickly correct one impression. Quickly,
and Emeka will allow me. You are going to allow me to correct the impression.
Yes. Just a very quick one.
Okay.
It is insane and stupid.
Please,
forgive my use of words. It is wrong for anyone to go.
Let me withdraw the word first.
Yeah, I take that back quickly.
Thank you.
All right. It is wrong for anyone to go say it's no man's land, or try to be aggressive about the ownership of that land. And I've not seen that play out in so many years. In fact, before now, I've always written on my page and everywhere how hospitable and beautiful it is like living in Southwest, particularly Lagos. Yeah. Okay? I schooled in Ogun State, so I could say Southwest. So it is wrong for anybody. Anybody who's saying that is actually bringing that topic up, either for cheap political gains or just to hit the system up, create division and take advantage of it.
Okay,
so I'll just leave that.
Let me tell you, something.
You would have your time. You would have your time. You would have your time. I want to go back to the question. Now, what played out during these elections? I saw a bit of difference between the presidential elections and the state governorship elections happened 3 weeks after. In between, a whole lot of mind changing, a whole lot of events took place, a whole lot of things, dynamics, changed. And to some of these youths, how they align their support, like I mentioned earlier, in some cases are tribal, some religious, some just wanting to, be, you see, I'll take for instance, I don't have a problem. I've said this times without number. I don't have a problem with the person of the governor of Lagos State, especially from the days of NSAS. He has, apart from politics, he has a humane spirit, okay? But you see, in politics, it's about party, affiliation, interest, and the rest. People, for some, it was about the person. For some, it was about the party. And then the person you're talking about
was about the external force.
Yes. I said this before in some other interviews. I said something unusual is about to happen. I think I had that conversation with you where I said the third force, for the first time in the history of Nigerian politics, is becoming so loud that it's almost quenching the fire of the opposition and threatening the victory of even the ruling party. So a party where you have 4 people behind a computer, in quotes, arranging them, coming into the system dislodging everything, taking a good number of seats in the House of Representatives, at the Senate, having a state to themselves, and even on the verge of getting some other states. On the verge of getting some other states. Sorry, kid, that was not for you. That was not for you. You know, and on the verge of taking some other states. Yeah. And then we look at them, you know, for some people, it is like, if I knew that this was like this wouldn't have been like this. And that's why we're having this conversation. Yeah. And I am saying that, you see, moving forward, the kind of things I want the youth to even get to know about are not the kind of conversation. Listen, in moving forward, it will get to a time, I want this to be put down somewhere. Okay. It will get to a time where party will become second fiddle to who the candidate is. I'll give you, for example, there's this member of the House of Assembly in Lagos State here, okay, Honorable Tope Adewale, he's APC. But if I see him on the card, probably for governorship, I would go for him. Now that is me talking personal, and that's the kind of conversations you will see moving forward, especially within the political, because this awakening is going to trigger a whole lot of things. Even for those who are occupying positions now, the seat is hot. You have to deliver. When Seriki was talking about the manifesto and the things, it's going to go beyond that. We're going to begin to see places where people will begin to compile signatures and calling senators and House of Representatives members back from the chamber. We're going to see where governors and leaders will be put on their toes to deliver. I think that the heat from these young lads who have suddenly realized what their powers are, the voting strength they have, and the level of control they have within the political space, their emergence, we're yet to see the real fire that comes with it. And that is why this voter education and the orientation that I'm talking about and helping people to understand this is what this politics is about, this is what the product or the end result of every election, this is how it affects us, this is how it affects the economy, this is how it, and then people will begin to leave these little frivolous issues of tribe and division and sentiments and begin to look at the real issues, which is actually getting the right people there. For Christ's sake, we're talking about the most populous black nation. We're talking about one of the most blessed countries, and the leadership has always been terrible. We look forward to something better, and that's why I think the youths will do the change.
Okay, so just before you ask me your question, I also want to correct him very quickly. You know, so he was talking about who are those who, close to the election, have been talking about Lagos as a no man's land. You know, I'm not going to quote anybody, but I'm going to tell you that whose candidate is always going to the marketplaces where there are Igbo people-dominated markets and is campaigning, and they are speaking Igbo language in campaigning for election, and they are saying that their son have come. Which candidate is that candidate? The answer is left for us.
Hold
on a minute, Emeka. Hold on a minute. You had your time. Hold on a minute. Again, which candidate, in which party do we have? We don't have the result from INEC. We have about 250,000 people transferred their polling units, their cards, all the way from East to Lagos, just in 2 months to the closure.
It's called insecurity.
2 months to the closure of the PVC collection rate.
It's insecurity.
We have all of this data. And don't let them now come here to come and deceive. You know, Emeka is an exceptional Igbo person, you know, who is trying as much as possible to balance the equation because he's been in Lagos for over 4 decades. He's schooled in Lagos and he's schooled in Ogun State, and he has a couple of his friends and family members, you know. But you know, that is the spirit of Lagos. You know, in the history of Nigeria, it's only in Lagos that you have an Igbo man who is a member of commissioner in Lagos State government. You have an Igbo man who is a member of House of Assembly in Lagos. We have an Igbo man who is a member of House of Reps in Lagos. We have an Igbo who is a vice chairman of a local government, who are supers and essays in our local government. It tells you that we are actually very accommodating. It tells you that Yoruba people are always very welcoming.
I don't think he debunked it.
No, he didn't debunk it. Exactly. But he was trying to tell us that nobody has said that Lagos
I can assure you.
And that's very false.
But
and I will not expect him to come to national TV and give us information that are not really real.
Unless
you know, and then, you know, so we have to look at all of these things. You know, these thing started, it started triggering Yoruba people in Lagos when we noticed that they were going from one market to another in Igbo-dominated environment. And they were saying that, yes, they are ready to take over. And when we got the data of the total number of people who transferred their pulling carts from Lagos, from Southeast, down to Lagos, and their campaign strategy was that we are coming to Lagos to get the mandate. We are coming back to Lagos to get the.
But why? Hold on.
So you think Yoruba people and somebody called
that scare you?
Hold on, and you think that
hold on a little.
Can
we have this conversation?
No, we will not.
Can we have this?
But that's why I've said that it's better for us to leave
Mr.
what has happened in the past election and let's move on
Mr.
for a better nation.
Mr. Seriki, can we have this conversation?
Yes, we can.
And the conversation is that you seems and you're talking as if the party that they seems want to vote, like I'm assuming,
okay,
like the party that they seems want to vote for, the person that represents that party is not a Yoruba man.
No, it does. You see, you are assuming.
I'm not even saying which party I belong to.
You see now.
just
No. You are just assuming.
But that's what. But that's what you're putting.
You are just assuming. But again, you have said you are aware and you agree with me that a particular candidate was going from one local market
what's wrong with going to market?
What's wrong with going to market?
He's talking to only the Igbo
is it wrong?
environment. No. And he's not talking to the Yorubas.
No,
he's not talking to other people.
How did you come
with that? To tell me that
how did you come with that?
Candidate is not Yoruba. No,
how
he's
did
a
you come up
Yoruba
with
candidate.
that?
But of course, we know that he has some Igbo. I don't want to go further so that I won't be seen as somebody.
The person you're talking about, who is in charge of his campaign?
No. Okay, so let's die down.
So it's better that we die down and we say that let's go forward.
Okay, so I'm not going that route.
You see, he doesn't want to go
That's
forward.
That's go forward issue. The approach is wrong. The approach is wrong.
The let's go forward will now be that you see this has happened.
Your phone is pretty expensive. If I walk up to you, take it and hit it on the floor, break it, and then in the course of the okay. Seriki, let's leave it. Let's move on. Let's go forward. Let's go forward.
You have to buy another one.
But the truth of the matter is that the phone.
And
I'm not going to.
Are you ready for us to just move on?
Of course, we are going to move on at the end. At the end, we are going to move on.
Back to the
whichever way, whether we want to go back to court, whether we just want to move on or going to court. But we are good. The government is going. It's not going to wait for one person.
Okay, so but let me just also say this: like, why does it matter that we have to discuss this? Because it's a critical question that we need to talk about. Why does it matter? Like I said, the three of us sitting down here, we're youth. So it does matter to us to know that there's going to be an inauguration that's going to happen on May 29th.
Yes,
and the president-elect is going to come. And of course, we also know that the cases are in court. But at the same time, what are the things that, that needs to start binding us together, as nation? First of all, because it looks as if the most aggrieved of the demographic that voted in this particular election are the youth. We must tell ourselves the truth.
That's true.
You get the most aggrieved. Yeah. So we cannot shy away from that, Seriki. We can't actually. Hold on. Let me finish. Let me land. Okay. Let me land. We cannot actually shy away from that. So, I also said that Asiwaju himself, when he received his certificate of return, he said, "Youth, I heard you loud and clear." So there must be something that Asiwaju has also seen. So let's provide solutions. What should be done?
Beautiful.
Okay, so thank you very much.
Okay. Is that for me?
Okay, hold on.
Thank you very much.
Hold on.
Okay,
just before you thank.
Okay, let me start with you. What should be done?
Okay, so thank you very much, Demola. I started from what should be done, but Emeka chose to bring us back.
No, it's not that he chose to bring us back.
What has happened in the past.
No, hold on. Okay. It's not that he chose to bring us back. Okay. The both of you decide to shy away from it. But it was something that we needed to talk about.
Okay,
so now what should be done?
Thank you
very much. We are at this stage now, so what should be done?
You know that the honest truth, yes, I would agree with you that considerable number of young people are not very pleased with the outcome of the election. But I'll tell you, I'm a youth. I am very pleased with the outcome of the election. I predicted this is what will happen in that election. And a whole larger number of youth also are pleased with that result. Now let me tell you, for people who have built castle on a thin hair, you would expect that it would take them a longer time to realize the next step. But if you ask me what the next step is, the next step remains that let's do everything we can within our reach, that we let Lagos, we let Nigeria continue to be a peaceful environment. Let's extend hands of fellowship to each other as friends and families. Let's forgive ourselves all that has happened in the last election that people have brought to divide us. Let us try to stay united. A smart opposition, a smart young person should now be interested in whatever any candidate in Nigeria have promised us to do in the government. A smart young people should advise those other ones who are not pleased with the outcome of the election. There's a process. Go to the court and let peace reign. We have heard a lot of different threats. We have seen the Ezendigbo of Ajawo Estate who had come on air to say that he's going to bring IPOB to Lagos to start securing markets. Of course, he's been arrested now. Let us not allow all of those kind of sensitive conversation amongst us. Let us forgive ourselves and work together for this government. Let us start mending the fence now, such that in the next election, people will not come and divide us again. The honest truth is that we've been divided, whether for political reasons.
I like the fact that you accept that.
Yes,
okay.
We have been.
Right.
We've been divided. I know a lot of people who are my friends, who are my colleagues, who have called me at different times to say, hey, what's going on here? Why are you doing? I'm like, okay, see, this is what false information you've been fed with. But this is the exact truth. But see, we have seen it before in Nigeria, whereby a sitting governor was removed from office because that the mandate was not his. We have seen that happen in the Senate just in about 2011. With the presidency we almost had a rerun in that election. It was only 7 judges that were supposed to decide on the case. And out of those 7 judges, 4 was for and 3 was for against. If that number had changed just with one person, we would have had a rerun in that election as far back as 2011. So if anybody now feels disenfranchised, feels disgruntled in the outcome of the election, it's fine. It's okay. It's normal. It's expected. Please do the right thing and don't allow anybody to come and divide us. This is how war started in Rwanda when they started calling themselves Uti and Tuti. This is how all of these little things started from. And that's why people have started saying that, oh, I'm a Yoruba rascal. I don't want to see this. We should not allow that happen. And if we keep quiet about it, it is going to start happening and it's going to divide us more. And of course, you know that, yes, Yoruba are very accommodating. They're very welcoming. And I know that if we start mending all of these fences, in no time, all of this will become history. That will say that, yes, so in 2019, 2023, we had an election and all of this has happened and we're all good and we're moving ahead. So that's my own ideology. That's my own plea that as young people, yes, a lot has happened in the past. A lot has happened in previous elections. But then you need to start moving on. In the process of moving on, let's mend fences, let's forgive each other, let's stretch hand of friendship. Of course, if anybody still feels disgruntled, please do it via the legal means, via the right means. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. I like that part. You sounded better now. All right. So for me, the elections have gone. We can't bring it back. And what has happened has happened. For me, it is a lesson learned. It's a teaching process. And I think all we need to do is find ways of righting any wrong that has happened. I would want to use this medium to say that it is now up to those, actually their processes. Those in court are, exploring their last opportunity, and a lot of them are positive about what the outcome will be. But in the meantime, the situation right now is that some persons have been returned elected, and they will be sworn in. And once that happens, they would man the affairs of the country for the period of time stipulated, except the court comes to say so otherwise. Now, once that is in place, my advice to both the president and the governors is for every state. I come from Imo State. My state is actually APC. And I am hoping that the president-elect, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who, you know, that line, I heard you loud and clear, is deep.
Very deep.
And so we're optimistic and hoping that it means what we think it means. You know, but that would mean opening the doors to everyone to accommodate. You see, I don't know much about some of these things that happened recently. Life in Lagos as an Igbo man has always been beautiful. Always been beautiful. It is only sad that some of these things happened. Let's not go back to it. I'm even using this medium to extend a hand to Seriki for us to form a coalition of youths in Lagos, cut across the 3 different tribes, where we will begin to get these conversations out in the open through different means. You see, it's easy to drop these words here on live TV, on national TV, and then we all go home. A lot of people feel bad. We need to go out there and reassure people that what happened, happened. On behalf of those who are guilty of whatever happened, we're saying sorry and we want to move on, okay? It is important for us to let them know that whatever happened, happened because of politics, and that there's more to life for us. Because if I fall sick now, the next hospital I'm taken to, I may be treated by a consultant of, you know, Yoruba extraction. So I am extending that to you. I don't know, you know, politicians, you might just throw this away, but that's for you. And then finally, finally, if there's going to be some kind of, I want a coordinated, holistic, strategic effort to begin now to orient, educate, and speak to the youths. They need to understand what elections
All right,
mean.
thank you. On a final note, I want the 2 of you to shake hands.
Oh, please, we would even have a drink after.
No, shake hands.
We will shake hands.
Let the hand cross the lines.
I'm extending it first.
All right, thank you very much. Of course, that's the show for today. Join us next week as we bring you another interesting one on Standpoint. Of course, there's going to be a repeat by 11 p.m. today and 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. My name is Ademola Lawrence. Bye for now.
TVC News.